Some observers may see Iran's latest Hormuz move as Mojtaba making a major play for long-term control of the strait, just as Trump appears, at least temporarily, to be stepping back under pressure. Iran's new maritime mechanism for commercial shipping is also being interpreted by some as a direct assertion of authority at the exact moment Trump pauses Project Freedom, giving Tehran a chance to turn wartime leverage into a regulatory reality. At the same time, the IRGC's warning that ships must follow Iran-designated routes is strengthening the impression that Tehran wants the world to accept a new order in Hormuz, even as Washington signals that the war may be winding down.
The Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation.
Iran has launched a new mechanism for governing maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, marking a significant escalation in Tehran's effort to formally regulate movement through one of the world's most strategic waterways. Under the new system, ships seeking to transit Hormuz are expected to receive an email from the address info@pgsar, which Iranian authorities are using as part of the new approval framework. According to Press TV, Iran will use that email channel to lay out the rules and regulations that vessels must follow in order to secure what it calls safe passage through the strait. Reports say ships will be required to comply with this framework and obtain a transit permit from Iran before entering the choke point, effectively placing passage under a formal Iranian authorization process. Iranian state media describes the initiative as a sovereign governance system that is now operational, underscoring Tehran's intention to present the move not as a temporary threat, but as an established regulatory reality. The IRGC has also warned that ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz must exclusively use the routes designated by Iran as safe, reinforcing Tehran's attempt to impose direct navigational authority over the choke point. Iran's Revolutionary Guards further warned that they would act decisively against any ships that avoid those Iranian-designated corridors, making clear that deviations could invite immediate consequences. IRGC statement said, and I quote, "Any deviation by vessels to other routes will be unsafe and will be met with a decisive response from the IRGC Navy. The only safe route for passing through the Strait of Hormuz is the corridor previously announced by Iran." Unquote. This major Iranian move in Hormuz was reported just as Trump decided to pause Project Freedom, creating the impression that Tehran's pressure tactics may have coincided with a temporary U.S. operational pullback. With peace talks going nowhere, Donald Trump suddenly moves to halt his much-touted Project Freedom in the Strait of Hormuz, signaling a sharp tactical pause in the U.S.-Iran showdown. The White House now says American warships will temporarily pull back from active escort duty in Hormuz, easing direct confrontation even as tensions in the waterway remain high. Trump insists the pause in Project Freedom is only for a short period, presenting it as a calculated move rather than a climb down under Iranian pressure. The announcement dropped on Trump's social platform just one day after the operation began, prompting fresh questions about why the mission was dialed back so quickly. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "Based on a request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed." Unquote. Trump frames the step back as proof that negotiations with Iran are making great progress, hinting that a broader agreement could be within reach. He also credits Pakistan and other mediating nations, saying they urged Washington to ease off militarily to give diplomacy room to work. Even with escorts paused, the U.S. blockade on Iran's port stays firmly in place, keeping economic pressure on Tehran while warships step slightly back from the front line. The abrupt shift has fueled debate over whether Project Freedom actually met its goals, or whether it stalled before it could change realities in Hormuz. The Pentagon, meanwhile, stresses that recent clashes saw Iranian boats, drones and missiles destroyed, portraying the short-lived operation as a battlefield success despite the pause. In Washington, Marco Rubio confirmed that the offensive phase of Operation Epic Fury against Iran has been wound down, signaling a major shift in the U.S. war posture.
On the rising oil and gas prices, the president has said that this is a small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon. But 10 weeks in, are we any closer to getting rid of Iran's nuclear material.
Yeah, but look, here's the way to think about Iran, and this is what I described at the very beginning of this. What was Iran's plan? You have to understand what their plan was. Their plan was they were going to build this conventional shield where they would have so many thousands of missiles and drones and rockets that they couldn't be attacked. And behind that conventional shield that they were trying to build, they would then break out and do whatever they wanted with their nuclear program. They no longer have that conventional shield. Okay, we told you guys from the very beginning, and we're very consistent in this messaging. The operation that has concluded was going to destroy their Navy. They have no Navy left. They don't. Not a Navy. They have small boats and Boston whalers, but they don't have a Navy left. They don't have an Air Force. I challenge you. When is the last time you read or heard about an Iranian jet flying anywhere? They don't have an Air Force. Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about. I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom. As far as a negotiation is concerned, I think the president's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the president and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.